There's a problem with cameras, or more the camera industry. See, back in 2003, digital cameras were a bit rubbish. And since then, every year we've seen massive improvements. Apart from recently, see, we've kind of solved cameras. Every modern camera is more than capable of making basically anything you could want it to, including this one. So if all of the cameras are technically perfect now, then why would anybody ever buy a new one ever again? If you can't improve on technical performance, what happens when you call up the R&D department and say, "Hello chaps, would you mind focusing on making it really fun to use, please?" Well, you get this, the Insta360 Ace Pro 2, which turns into this. We'll talk about it, we'll go shoot it, I'll explain what on earth this thing does, and at the end I'll show you how to turn on the built-in Wes Anderson mode. Not kidding. Also, this video is sponsored by Insta360. Big thank you to them for making it possible. Now, spoiler alert, I am not a snowboarder, so action cameras haven't really been on my radar all that much up until recently. I mean, the last time I went to take photos in rough conditions, I took this thing. Naturally, I wasn't really sure how I would get along with the Ace here, but I've been pleasantly surprised. So what's the deal with this little camera and its mega evolution? Well, the first thing you might notice, if you've been paying attention, is the quite important word written on the front. L-E... Leica? That's right, they aren't messing about. This isn't a lens from the parts bin. This one says Leica Summit A on it. Now, that might make you think that this camera is targeted at the real professionals like me, but in a devastating blow to my ego, it's not. See, Insta360 are quite clever, and they know that there's a small group of us photography weirdos and a much larger group of just people who do cool stuff. But they also know that those people also kind of have to be photographers these days. There is a huge ecosystem of different bits and bobs you can get for this camera. If you are into winter sports, there's literally a kit called the Winter Sports Kit with everything that you would need to film yourself skiing or whatever. If you know what ATGAT stands for, there's a kit for bikers as well. Now, obviously, because I'm me, Insta360 have sent me out a load of accessories for street photography. See, what they've done here that's quite clever is they've made a camera that lets you do all of the fancy camera setting stuff that we like to do, but you also don't have to. A lot of the time, grumpy commenters will tell me that new photographers should learn on manual mode with black and white film like I did back in the 1750s. And I hear you, that's how I learned, but I disagree. The first thing you need to practice if you want to get good at photography is taking your camera with you and having fun taking pictures. The curiosity to learn and expand what you can do comes later. So yes, this camera does do exactly what I want it to do, but just as importantly, it works perfectly as a first camera for somebody that doesn't know their ISO from their elbow. That's part of what I mean when I say it's prioritizing fun. It's designed so that you can enjoy documenting what you're doing without the documenting becoming the doing. You want to go mountain biking? Great, go do that. Press go and it'll just work. Doesn't get in the way of whatever you're doing, it just adds to it. Now, in the artsy hipster bundle, street photography bundle, you get this, the Explorer cage, which is brilliant. Action cameras are pretty good, but there's no getting around the fact that for handheld photography, the ergonomics kind of suck, but bang it in the cage, and now you have a grip. You have a settings dial, a zoom rocker, and a clicky shutter button. Plus, the cage has extra built-in batteries, so you don't have to worry about charging as much. It honestly feels like a completely different camera, and it's still pocket-sized, which was a really nice bonus. But Hunter, is it actually good at street photography? Well, I went out to test it, and I was pleasantly surprised at how capable it is. No, not like that. Like this. The lens on this thing is crazy wide. For POV video stuff, that's pretty sensible, but it is a bit of a challenge even for me, Mr. Wide Angle. Luckily, there's a 2x digital zoom, taking us from a 13mm full frame field of view to a 26mm one, which is much more my cup of tea. The reason that zoom works so well is because somehow, Insta360 have managed to fit a 50 megapixel sensor into this thing. So your cropping headroom is about 1,000,000,000%. It was also fairly quick and responsive, and because it's got that clicky shutter button, it was easy for me to hit the decisive moment that we all look for and not the moment right after the decisive one that you're a bit ashamed of and you put right at the end of your Instagram carousel. I also enjoyed using the tilty uppy screen, which I think is mainly designed for like selfie type action, but go halfway and it's a really great waist level viewfinder. There's also a magnetic sun visor, which is very useful. Most of the time I set the shutter to auto and then just use the dial as exposure compensation, but for the most part, I honestly didn't need to, and so I just fired away. Also, just quickly, if you want to learn more about this camera and the accessories, there's a link in the video description, and if you do end up picking one up, please make sure you use the code CREATEART for a discount. The price has just permanently dropped, and if you use my code, you'll get a free gift. They also sent me some more goodies, these 3 lenses especially. There's an ultra wide angle, which is insane given how wide this already is, but this is perfect when you have to shoot every last candid moment in the room, except no substitute. There's also a macro lens with adjustable focus, and while it was a bit fiddly, I found the focus peaking display really helped, and I used it to take some close-up shots of little things that I found. The most exciting lens, at least for me, is the cinematic one, which looks like it's doing something vaguely anamorphic flavored. When you use this lens, you can shoot an iLog in widescreen, which is one of my favorite shapes, right up there with isosceles triangles. Also, the video is pretty good. I shot mostly in 4K in iLog, not to be confused with Apple Log, and I think it held up pretty well. Now, generally speaking, action cameras don't care about having a 180-degree shutter because when you need to stabilize fast action, less motion blur is helpful. I don't think Insta360 do an ND filter kit for this yet, but if they could, that would be super. Do you know what else would be super duper? If you went to shop.huntercreatesthings.com and got a cap like this one. They also sent me quite a nice retro style case for all, which is great, and I definitely appreciate not having to find an entire new drawer to keep all of the bits and pieces in. Speaking of, should we talk about this thing? This attachment here is, believe it or not, a printer. Insta360, more like Instant 360. Now, instead of the Polaroid style develop as you go approach, this is like an actual printer. And it's pretty good actually. It's also way cheaper to run than a Polaroid, which explains some of the dust on my Polaroid cameras. I bet you didn't know, Polaroid 600 film packs actually also contain the single-use lithium battery for the camera in each pack. How's that for 80s eco-friendly design? This printer, on the other hand, is USB-C rechargeable. You can clip it onto the camera or the Explorer cage to do the mega evolution thing and set it up so that every time you take a photo, it prints it, which is really great for if you're passing the camera around at parties and that sort of thing. I, on the other hand, have commitment issues, and so I prefer to keep the printer in my bag, and then at the end of the day, I'll go through the photos I shot, make some selects, edit them up the way I want, and then print them out. Also, you do all of this through the Insta360 app, and it also just lets you print whatever you want from your phone's gallery, which I think is quite useful. The print quality is pretty good. I'd say it's on par with the sort of thing that you would get out of an Instax camera, and it's just a really great way to add another layer of fun and whimsy and tactile realness to your day out taking photos of petrol stations. Speaking of fun and whimsy, it has some presets built in, sure, the usual neutral, vivid type stuff, but this time designed by Leica. I've heard they tend to know what they're doing with these things. I quite like the BWHC for high contrast one, because that's just the type of guy that I am. It's also got some Fujifilm inspired ones. We have NC, which looks a bit like Superior 400 to me. NC2 kind of looks like Pro 400H, which is, in my opinion, the best color negative film stock ever made, and I will not change my mind. There's also CC and CC2, which are kind of an Eterna vibe in daylight and tungsten flavors. And then the really whimsical part is this. Retro Neon is the built-in Wong Kar-wai mode, which gives you instant access to Gen Z Instagram color grading, and Vintage Vacation, which is just Wes Anderson cranked all the way up to 11. Because I am a grade A control freak, I mostly shot in iLog and did my own grades under the official LUT, and I shot the photos in DNG RAW and put my own signature look on them because that's just how I roll. This tiny little camera shoots 8K, which is insane, but I mostly used the 4K since that's more than enough resolution for me. I also thought the low light performance was especially impressive for such a small sensor. And look, I get sent a lot of stuff as an influencer. Even though I don't really like the idea of being an influencer, I'm just a guy who makes videos about stuff he's been thinking about. And some of the stuff that I get sent goes right back out the door because it's rubbish. Some of it is good, but it still sits in my room for months on end gathering dust until somebody sends me a grumpy email and says, what's going on? This is absolutely not, under any circumstances, going to get even a little bit dusty. I can genuinely see myself using this for all sorts of shots that I just can't get with my full-size cameras. Being able to just switch this on and know that it'll get me something that I can use to make my videos more fun to watch is really valuable. I think Insta360 have done a great job with this. Sure, some things can be improved. I'd really like to see ND filters as an option, for example, and of course, it'll never replace my full-size big boy cameras, but it's going to be a really useful tool when I need something that's as flexible as possible. It's also really great for handing to my girlfriend while she's filming me take photos for these videos, because let's face it, it's not very much fun to walk around for a whole day with a 10 kilo rigged out Sony. If you want to learn more about the Ace Pro 2, there's links in the video description. Make sure you use the code CREATEART to get a discount. Thank you very much to Insta360 for sponsoring this video. It makes a really big difference. And thank you for watching, because that does too. Stay hydrated and create art.